The famous Fulton and Hoyt camp.
Yep.
It was me and Lahab that broke, Lahab and myself that broke ground at there. It was us two. He was doing all the speaking, and I was doing all the reading. Okay? And then what made the thing get big and grow was Ariala. He came into school after General Yohana. Yohana came in maybe like 3 to 6 months after I came in, right? I came in maybe a couple months after Barak came in. Barak, the man that you see in the middle, the Barak, he was in there before me, but he was like a beginning student, so he could have been in there maybe 2-3 months or whatever. You also had Shalimar, and he kind of got up in the Hebrew. Okay, now you had a Saturday class, which was Ariah's class. Ariah had taught the Hebrew. He went into the history, and he went into the prophecies. He went into a lot of them. All those breakdowns came from Ariah. Okay, but concerning the Brooklyn camp, it was Lahab and myself that went out there, man. Okay, and then later on, Yohana was coming out there, who you call General Yohana. He was coming out there because it was about maybe 5 of us. It was Lahab, myself, Yohana, and maybe 2 more other guys that kind of came in. That's when the school was small. All right? Ariala had came in maybe 3 months after Yohana. And then me and Ariala, we became good friends. And then basically it worked out where me and Ariala, well, there was a point where I was still going out to Brooklyn, and Ariala was living in Brooklyn, but he was going out to 34th Street. And I was coming from outside of the city. So sometime it took me 2 hours to get down to Brooklyn, man. But the Spirit had it where I was going all the way to Brooklyn, and Ariala was and Lahab is too. And sometime I would meet up with Lahab, and Lahab had that Jeep. All right, then he had like a Cadillac or something like that. But I used to meet up with Lahab, and we used to go out there early, right? He'd get out there like maybe 1 o'clock or so, 1:30, you know? And Ariala was in Brooklyn, and after the camp, me and Ariala hang out. And that was funny how the Spirit worked, him coming from Brooklyn, but then it worked out where me and Ariala was dealing with Brooklyn, and Barak was in the camp. And then the camp started to grow. And then there was a point where the Brooklyn camp, Fulton and Hoyt, got so big that I told Ariala, I said, look, let's go set up something else. We got enough men. There's enough men here. And we said, let's give it to Barak. So we said, look, we're going to go to the Bronx, 149th Street, where IUIC is out there now. Yeah. That's where me and Ariala was out there, man. We broke ground out there. It was just the 2 of us. And we said, well, look, Barak, you know, you can be that, you can have that's your camp now, you know. We're going to open up another zone. And there was a council because Mo really didn't know Barak that well. He knew me because I was out on the, I was one of those Action Jackson guys. Yeah. So I convinced brothers, look, I can run this and I can do that. And then did it. And then did it, man, you know. So they didn't know Barak well enough, so they were leery about letting him be the head of that camp. But they had Gazak come in. They mentioned Gazak, which Gazak came in there for what, a month?
Yeah, that was mine.
But Gazak was known for being in charge of a camp for about a good month, 3 weeks, and then he would do a disappearing act because he was writing that book, which he never wrote that book. He never wrote that book. Hey, I'm going to write this book. And there was never a book, you know? Yeah. So it worked out, and then Yashawan came in. No, Yashawan came in under me and Ariala. It was at one point it was me, Ariala, and Yashawan. Yeah. It was us 3 going out there speaking, and then Aharon came in, so it was like 4 of us. So it was a lot of changing of going to different camps, man. You know? Yeah. Now, I remember when I was in the when I came into the truth, I didn't even know that they were going to 34th Street. I know that they were out there on 44th Street on a Sunday, and on the Saturdays they wasn't out there because they was on 34th Street. Ariel, Yeshai, Lahab, and all Shaw and all them. They would go to 34th Street on Saturdays, and then they would go to 44th Street on Sundays. And I remember, matter of fact, the first time I ever spoke was on 34th Street in 7. That was the first time I got the mic and spoke. And then I remember, you know, I was coming out there strong, and in the camps, we didn't have no big camps back then, you know. And I remember there was more guys kind of coming in. And right before I came in, and Barak came in, and Johanna came in, and Ariala came in, this was 84, 85, 86. Right before that, like around 83, there was a whole bunch of guys. I'm not even going to mention their names because y'all don't know them anyway. They're up in age. Some of them are dead. But the Most High did a sweep and swept out a whole bunch of guys. And then he brought in a whole new crew. And I saw that in the spirit. I said, we all kind of came in. Maybe one brother was in here 2 months before you, and another brother was 2 months after you or 3 months after you. But it's like we were like the Most High had us like the new crew coming up. And we came in so strong that it kind of intimidated the 7. They were like, look, we got to get on the zone, man. These young guys are going to push us out, man. And that made them get on even a higher zone, man. And I remember I was close with Masha. I was real close with Masha. I used to go to Masha's house in the Bronx. Sometimes me and Malak would drop Masha off when he had his Sunday class at his house in the Bronx, man. And I remember when he moved down to Manhattan, I went to that. I knew him over there. I knew his wife. I knew all his children. I knew his grandchildren. You know, so coming back to coming back to the camps, I was real close with Ariel too. And I told Ariel, I said, Ariel, we got a lot of guys out here on 34th. I said, why don't we split the camp in half and have half of the camp go up to 44th? And Ariel said, yeah, let's do that. We had the council. We're going to open up 44th on Saturdays, and we're going to have 34th. So on Saturdays, it was the 34th Street camp and the 44th Street camp. And on Sundays, it was just a 44th Street camp. So I was a part of that before all you guys. And Barak, you were kind of in the back. You kind of played the back. You was in there, but you were kind of playing the back. And then after a while, you kind of moved up in a leadership position. Okay. All right. So let's go back. Let's go back to. All right.
All the ideas, the dress code, right. The trooper program, that came from SOT, the Brooklyn camp. That's right. All right. So
yeah, but all those, you bragging like the Brooklyn camp is so great. Where are all those guys from Brooklyn, man? Where are they, man? Yeah. Where are all those guys in Brooklyn? Where's Mount Zion? What happened to Mount Zion? Yeah. You know? Where's Yashawan? Where's Ariala? Where's Aharon? Where's Muaz? Where's Thumyad? All them guys fell off, so they really wasn't meant. Huh? The Tazaban. Yeah. Where's he at? You know? All right, go ahead.
Brothers are talking.